Peace and blessings. Hotep, Black Power, giving honor to the Creator and the ancestors. Honor to my sister, Chief of Staff, Brother Harris Abdul, my father, my in-laws, and all of our great ancestors and brothers and sisters who are fighting for the liberation and salvation of our black nation, as well as my subscribers, my listeners, and all the brothers and sisters in the black nation. Let us work for a better tomorrow, today. I told y'all I was gonna come back. I want to do a recap, kind of a recap on this Kanye West thing because, and I call it insane celebrities because, sometimes we can have situations that may occur in our lives that can throw us completely off balance and off track mentally, emotionally, and a lot of times spiritually, which causes us to do bizarre things. But nevertheless, it's a root cause of it all. And I just want to see if you and we can try to get some clarity on the brother Kanye West. Now, as we know, he's the talk of not only social media, but worldwide news, national and international, concerning some of the statements he made on TMZ. And personally, I agree as well as disagree to an extent. Because at first, when he came out with the slavery was a choice, kind of caught me off guard. And I immediately responded in straight 100% defense mode. In defense of my ancestors. However, after further review, I kind of understand where a lot of the reactions towards the brother came from. So, he has become a very complicated dude. He grew up, with understanding. He was taught very well, highly groomed, highly mannered, and was taught to how to conduct himself in society. Excellent school, academic work, and so on and so on. Now, when his talents began to flourish, he opened the wrong door in terms of the elite and the hierarchy, which are the white so-called imposter Jews that run the music industry, that uses brothers and sisters to kind of go fishing to reel in people with enormous talent and allow them and invite them to a world of fortune and fame, provided they prove their loyalty. Meaning, in layman's terms, he gave his mother up for fame and fortune by way of an operation. She went to do some surgery, real in and out surgery, tummy tuck or whatever, stomach reduction. And the elite sent Kanye to London while the procedure went on. And when it was done, they informed him. And I'm going to tell you how sickening and deep it is. That gave him time to develop a terrible, tore down emotional state where he appeared to be grieving very deeply. Now, I believe he grieved. However, it didn't hit him Just like a lot of other black families and people, we don't realize how valuable a person is till they're gone. And we truly, truly miss them. And this is what happened with Kanye by trading his mother in for fame and fortune. And she was the only one that stuck by him, gave him instructions, that was loyal to him. But he wanted to be like Jay-Z. He wanted to be on that same level as Jay-Z. And when he saw Jay-Z perform, he was mesmerized. He was completely mesmerized. And Jay-Z, who was a talent hawk, knew how powerful Kanye is. Now, I told y'all in another video that there are only 3 people that can see sound and see music without any type of pen, paper, or anything. That's Stevie Wonder, Kanye West, and R. Kelly. And Jay-Z knew that. So the Rockefeller door was open with all the so-called imposter Jews that perform the witchcraft and the rituals. Rick Rubin and the whole clique, Jimmy Iovine, Ted Field, that whole mob of hierarchy that run the music industry. And so once Kanye traded his mother and gave his mother up for fame and fortune, the sky was the limit for Kanye. And I know today, as he looks back on what he's done and how he's been left alone emotionally and abandoned mentally and spiritually, the emptiness that he walks around with is like someone with a blindfold on trying to find a wall or try to find a door to enter or go out. In terms of him looking for someone that he can trust, someone that has his best interest. And Donda West was the only one that had his best interest. Because she wouldn't have allowed him to do and date and interact with some of the people that he got caught up with. Once he started performing, and let's not get it twisted, Kanye's a brilliant writer, a brilliant rapper, as well as a brilliant musician all around. And once he was allowed to allow his talents to flourish, he just became overwhelmed with himself and realized some of the power that he had. And he allowed that to dominate his decision making. And so he went in the studio. This is the beginning of the catastrophes. He went in the studio to do some tracks for Ludacris. During that time, Ludacris thought that he, was untouchable. He had the Atlanta rap game on Smash at the time. And, he began to, start acting real bitchy. And so when Kanye came and dropped some tracks, Ludacris did not like it, and it offended Kanye. Kanye stormed out the studio, got into his stolen Porsche, and just started driving like a madman. Trying to, and back to Ludacris. See, Ludacris, began to thought that he was the greatest rapper on the planet. You know, and I'll do something on him in the future. However, and talk about his fall from grace. But Kanye, frustrated, insulted, because he never had anyone to tell him how they really felt about his music. And I believed it was just out of jealousy with Ludacris, because Kanye, like I said, he's a hell of a writer. This is the result of him leaving the studio. He gets into a terrible, terrible, terrible accident with a stolen Porsche. He ends up in the hospital, going in and out of consciousness, you know, clinging on to life at the time. And he managed to pull through. He managed to pull through. But one thing he had said, he said if he had went out and passed away, that his legacy would have been severely damaged, because he only had done some tracks for maybe some guys like Beanie Siegel, I think Memphis Bleak, and some other rappers that pretty much are finished in terms of their career today. And so he wanted his legacy to be a living legacy one after he's gone, sort of like a Pop, Biggie. The rehabilitation process was extremely difficult for Kanye. However, he paid personally out of his pocket for his hospital bills, and I believe he the insurance money for any damages that he created, which was a lot, but mostly to himself. And so it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for therapy, surgery, reconnecting and reconnecting his entire face. And that's when he had got the Shaka Khan sample through the wire, through the fire, and through the wire. And that's when he talked about this fatality that he had and was involved in. And that became, next to Jesus Walks, that became a gold. I don't know if it went platinum, but I definitely know Through the Wire went gold. And also his close friend, Shay Rhinefest Smith, who's a brilliant brother, and actually he wrote for a lot of people. Tribe Called Quest, you name it. He did a lot of writing, sampling, and lyric writing and beats and everything. However, he excelled from writing. He still writes, but he excelled from that, and he began to run for city council in Chicago. You know, that's his hometown as well as Kanye's. And black people, the guy that he was running against is a police officer running against, and he tried to smear Rhymefest's name by him having an incident with the law years ago on some domestic charge, and he lost the race. Now, you know, as you see Jay-Z, you know, when he makes that cheese-eating smile right there, that's not a real smile. That's one of those, you know, 75-cent grins, you know, mixed with a sinister smile. You know, and, you know, he had Kanye reeled in, hook, line, and sinker. Kanye had proved himself by giving his mother up, sacrificing his mother, that he earned a seat on the Rockefeller throne. Now, once again, I said he began to get overwhelmed with himself to the point that he went on stage at the Grammy Awards when this cave woman, Taylor Swift, won a Grammy, I think for Best Female Artist of the Year, and Kanye leaped up and said that it belonged to Beyonce, that Beyonce should have won that award. And that took a lot of heart to do that. And I can understand and relate to what Kanye was feeling in his gut and in his heart. And it took a lot of courage for him to stand up before the world and say something like that. You know, that you crackers just keep dominating the Grammy field, and my sister deserves this award. You're nowhere near as good as Beyonce. So I can understand where Kanye was coming from. However, was that the proper thing to do? Probably not. And of course, Beyonce, no response. Because see, Beyonce wouldn't do that for Kanye. Or nobody else. As much as the world and a lot of people love Beyonce, she is an extremely, extremely selfish sister. And all she thinks about is her dancing and her career and her family. You know, really nobody else doesn't matter unless you're doing something for Beyonce. And I'm not gonna send any negative energy toward Beyonce at this time, because you know we all have our own situations to deal with. But she is extremely selfish. Extremely selfish. She wouldn't done that for Kanye. And as a matter of fact, she made a statement to the press and the media that, you know, she wasn't down with Kanye. So it made Kanye look like a complete fool. And then Barack Obama, who said that Kanye was a jackass, and you know, but he never said that about Trump. Obama never mentioned that about any white people while in office. The only people he had issues with was Kanye West, Assata Shakur, you know, and anybody of color that stood up. You know, Obama was one of the worst presidents. You know, he left the black community hanging. And by his complexion, we thought that we had the connection because of the complexion. But that wasn't the case. Because we forgot that he had a white mother. And the whole 8 years, he demonstrated and acted just like a white boy. So, when Trump said all that asked for his birth certificate, he didn't respond and defend himself like Trump. He didn't go at Trump like Trump went at him. Put it that way. So, call Kanye a jackass and all this type of stuff, you know. But at the same time, when he was campaigning to run for president, you may not be able to see Kanye, but you can see Obama. You know, Obama was all in his face, begging him to help him campaign and get votes for him when he was running for president, when he was in his home, because Obama's from Chicago too. No Obama. And so, you know, But this is how this is how this stuff goes. You know, this shit is the act. You call the man a jackass, you just bar him, but yet, you know, you got your arms around his whore. You know. So all this, you know, that's what I'm telling y'all. All this stuff is an act. This shit is an act. This stuff is staged. Most of the stuff is choreographed. Even in when they make speeches, you know, a lot of shit is just an illusion. And so he went to Trump when he felt Obama didn't back him. He went to the devil. He went to the head devil of the United Snakes of America, Donald Skunk. And that was a media stunt as well. He dyed his hair red, you know, because, you know, and like I'm telling y'all, since he gave his mother up, sacrificed his mother, he ran into all types of terrible, damaging issues. And that ought to let you know how that the ancestors are working. Because when he made his connection and linked up with these witches, with these Illuminati witches, with these straight white cave dogs, that's when Kanye really hit his low. He basically lost his mind. Being with the whole slut that has slept with everybody in the media that meant something. And that's what whores do. That's what white whores do. She's not black, she's white. And that's what white whores do. You know, they don't deal with the common man. Because that's too normal. That's too much like right. So they have to go for the jugular vein, the financial jugular vein of each individual that they lay with. And she's laid up with a lot of people. I showed y'all about 10 that she laid with. And that's not including one night stands. That's not including the rituals where they have to lay up with these old ass white wrinkled motherfucking executives. All of them. Not just Kim, all of them. And see, and with Chloe too. And that's what one of the reasons that drove Lamar Odom to smoking crack again. Because when you got a mother that's a whore and she teach her children to be whores, and then the response from the public is that people go for this shit. People respect them. Here's a mother that has trained her children to be whores and sluts. And she is so much of a slut, she made her husband turn into a woman. Bruce Jenner. He was a decathlon man. This man was on the Wheaties box and everything. And fucking with the Kardashians, he ended up being a fucking white woman. And she trains them. She trains them. They get all this whorish shit from their mother. You know, and they run through men like they run through shoes. They run through men. And none of them has had a long-term relationship without fucking somebody else. They are some sluts. You know, and this is why Kanye is like he is today. He got caught up with a whore. And I know that has to bother him when he's in public or go to an award show and he runs into about 6 brothers or 6 guys that has fucked his wife. And see, she has him hook, line, and sinker. She made sure she got pregnant by him. She locked him down. And now while he's locked down, she still continues to be the slut that she is. And don't think she's faithful to Kanye. I'm quite sure y'all are not that naive and green and dumb to believe that she's a faithful goddamn wife. As a matter of fact, she might be more of a whore now than she was before she ran to Kanye, because of the fact that she has someone at home. And so, I just wanted to give a little rundown on Kanye to try to understand, how he got to where he was at. From being a superstar, megastar, rapper and entertainer. Because he used to put on some hell of a concerts and shows. When he was on top of the volcano, on top of the mountains at the Grammys, and the fire came out, when he was really, really in his element. He was really functioning on a very high frequency at that time. But now he's on meds, and who knows what he's taking. She could be switching and fucking with his medication, because see, sluts do shit like that to keep the nigga comatose. That's why he always had that goddamn robot look. Like he's been winded up like a goddamn toy. And he be medicated as fuck. And he just acts on some of the most idiotic shit. That's why, and I'm not justifying what he said, because more than likely he had took his meds, or probably took more than what he's supposed to, because every time he does that, he's in the media. However, when he said slavery was a choice, I understood some of the concepts of what people that agreed with that, because it was a choice where you could run and you would get killed. So, that's really no choice. That's really no choice. But it's a choice when Harriet Tubman wakes you up in the middle of the night and says, "We free." See, that's a choice. You can't judge that certain people made choices and made it out of slavery. Those were just a few. A lot of them brothers and sisters had steel poles sticking out their necks, around their waist with bells and shit, that they couldn't run no longer because they tried several times and was captured. So I understand the piece about a choice at some time, but I don't think that's what Kanye was talking about. He was talking about that, we chose, our ancestors chose to be slaves and pick cotton, which is totally fucking wrong. You have a choice today. If you want to save the world, you have a choice. You could give all your money up and save about 100,000 people. You have a choice to do that. Will you do that? Will you free some people out of economic, out of financial, out of moral, out of mental, out of emotional bondage? You have the finances to do that. Will you do that? That's a choice. That's why I know some of the shit that you saying you had to be medicated to say that idiot ass shit. To say some idiot ass shit like that. You know, your ass had to be, mollied up or some shit. So, the choices as far as somebody running, I don't really look at that as a choice once again. Because, running, you get captured, you get killed. A foot cut off. So, that's not really a choice. That's not a choice, that's a chance. So, it's enough for Kanye. So, when I come back, I'm going to be discussing, we're going to spend some time on the great brother, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. As always, Hotep, Black Power.